Welcome back to another episode of Don't Take Us Seriously. Today, we're going to be talking about Brock Purdy. Before we get to that, though, let me just tell y'all, there are 8 teams that went through here. Only 4 came out. So, divisional round, hey, it was kind of crap, but we're going to talk about this Niners game because it was interesting. It was a little bit of a defensive fight. It was a field goal game. Let's just call it what it was. It was 4 field goals for the Niners. It was 2 field goals for the Cowboys. All in all, we're going to talk about Brock Purdy, his impact on the game, give you guys some input, and we're going to let you guys decide who deserves the credit.
Before I give my partner here an opportunity to hate on my boy Brock Purdy, to summarize it, Brock Purdy led his team to victory. No ifs, no ands, no buts, and no turnovers.
Oh, look at you, Mr. Pun.
He calmly took what the defense gave him, used all the weapons he had to get across the finish line. And on top of that, he didn't sit there and try to play hero ball. You want to know why he didn't have to play hero ball? Because he didn't make the mistakes to put his team in the situation that necessitated it. He played the football that needed to be played to get the victory. His poise and confidence in a scenario like what that was is unmatched. That's all I got to say, man. Everybody else on vacation already.
I see 4 field goals. I see two good drives. That's what I see. But maybe I need glasses for my TV.
Sound like hate.
I see a guy that went out there and on the last 2 drives of the game, the gotta have the money drives. He went out there, he threw 2 passes to his running backs and Elijah Mitchell and Christian McCaffrey, one of the best tandems in football for the San Francisco 49ers. And then he went out there and he threw another 2 passes to George Kittle. Mm-hmm. Interesting, I bring up George Kittle. George Kittle made probably the greatest catch of the playoffs so far in this last game. It was a nice little 30-yard, catch and run. Well, I can't say run, catch and stumble because the pass was a little errant. It was an accurate pass, but he was able to haul in it. The catch, howling the pass from a circus catch, and he made it do what it do. The rest of it, though, what's that?
So I'm trying to figure out the appropriate way to word. I'll give you a moment. Go ahead. You can continue while I figure out how to word this thought.
Okay. The Niners, the rest of the game, they're able to somehow only get 40 yards in every drive. That was the most that they could do. They weren't able to actually be able to march up and down the field. He played well enough. Hey, no hate there. But I'm not going to forget that Dak Prescott threw 2 picks. That was 6 points that ended up for the Niners. He doesn't have those 6 points, that goes his way with those picks, giving them short fields. Hey, we might be having a different game, but I'm going to give kudos to CMC, Christian McCaffrey. I'm going to give kudos to Elijah Mitchell in the run game too. I'm going to give kudos to George Kittle. I'm going to give kudos to Dak throwing those picks. I'm giving kudos to Brock Purdy too. But before we get more on to Purdy, let me use a quick little example. Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning's this great generational quarterback. We know him to be that. That is who he is. He is him. He was him. During his tenure, he was not very good at the end. He was carried by Von Miller to a Super Bowl, albeit because he had a noodle arm. He just wasn't the quarterback that was able to go out there and make it happen. He was a disaster. Peyton Manning at his stage then would be able to take this Niners team to the Super Bowl and win because this team is that good. This team is that strong. What do I know?
The point came back to me. So let me ask you this. This same Niners offense that prior to Brock Purdy taking the helm was averaging about 22 points a game. From the moment Brock Purdy took over, if I'm not mistaken, they were the highest scoring offense in the NFL. Right or wrong?
They did some things. Wait. Sure. Go ahead.
They had a veteran in Jimmy G, who you argued previously, was serviceable enough to get it done, but he apparently he wasn't pimping the system the way Purdy is. And then on top of that, George Kittle, the person you just named, was having a rough year prior to Brock Purdy taking the helm. And Brock Purdy take the helm and George Kittle a touchdown in every game, over 60 yards in almost every game. I'll give you credit because you said something that piqued my interest. You referenced Peyton Manning, right? Peyton Manning still had to call the right plays, still had to set the offense up, still had to make the appropriate decision, even with his lack of ability towards the end of his career. And let us not forget, at the end of the day, Brock Purdy is Mr. Irrelevant. He's real relevant now, but he was the last pick in the draft. He's not even supposed to be in this situation. And it just feel like you got a lot of hate in your blood, I don't know, man. He did what he needed to do, back against the wall, rallied the team around him and pulled the dub out. And that Niners team got confidence that we ain't seen in a minute, bro.
Is you finished or is you done?
You got it, Pimp.
Thank you, because you went right into my trap. I love this because I'm gonna touch on those in a second. I'm going to break something down real quick. There's a difference between great quarterbacks and average quarterbacks. Great quarterbacks, they're able to get through progressions, get through reads. It takes a minute for you to be able to do that though. That's not an easy thing. It takes years. It takes a certain level of quarterback, like a Josh Allen, like a Patrick Mahomes. Those are great quarterbacks. I don't expect a 7th-round rookie to be able to do that, and he shouldn't be able to do that. Because that you're 7th-round rookie. Your job is to mature, grow within the offense, and if you have to play, manage the game and win the games. That's what he's been doing. I'm not taking that away from him. But I will go ahead real quick.
If you're not taking it away from him, then what's the argument here? Because I just like, do Brock Purdy's wins mean any less because he can't necessarily do those things yet?
They don't mean any less. But what I will say is something that you touched on earlier. You said running the offense. You said calling the right plays. Guess who's calling these plays? Kyle Shanahan is calling these plays. Kyle Shanahan hasn't had great quarterbacks by and large through his coaching tenure. Kyle Shanahan's had guys, and I'm going to go through a little soliloquy of a list here, guys, so bear with me. He's gone through the likes of Matt Schaub. He's gone through the likes of RG3. Brian Hoyer, Johnny Manziel, Brandon Weeden, CJ Beathard, Nick Mullins. Those last 2 played with the Niners. The 3 before that played with the Browns. And then RG3 played with Washington. Matt Schaub, too, he played with the Texans. None of these guys are elite tier guys. All of these guys, they had a time in the sun in the league. And what all they had in common was Kyle Shanahan being able to dial up plays, being able to make things happen for them, and they were able to win because they executed well, because Kyle's that guy. Go ahead.
Hey, Mr. DJ, I got a question.
Go ahead with your question, sir.
Did any of them go 7-0? Did any of them win 2 playoff games?
Nope.
Back to back?
No.
Did any of them have the highest scoring offense in NFL at any given point in time? No, none of them did that. None of them. Oh, okay. I just say what you will, but 7-0, 2 playoff wins. The record, the scoreboard, the stats speak for themselves. We're talking about a dude that didn't even get first team reps in the first game he played. He didn't even get second team reps. They had no plans on putting Brock Purdy in a football game, and he went out there and beat Miami 38 points on their head. Trey Lance couldn't do it. Jimmy G couldn't do it. We watched them. Neither one of them have produced what we watched Brock Purdy produce in this offense. It's okay to not get through your reads. It's okay to not make it to your third or second progression at times. It's okay to throw the ball into the ground to prevent from taking sacks. That's something that great quarterbacks do. Prevent negative plays from happening so that way their team can still get points out of a drive.
Great
question. I'm not calling him great. I'm just saying that some characteristics are similar. I bet Brock Purdy playing such a stable game had Dak shaking in his boots. That's why he was out there throwing the ball to the red jerseys.
He did. You know something that those other quarterbacks that were 7-0 didn't have? They didn't have an amazing roster like this Niners offense and defense had. They didn't have the benefit of having that. So there's that. All I know is Kyle Shanahan gives layups to these quarterbacks. And when you give them layups, they better finish them.
Hey, Mr. DJ, didn't Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance had his exact same roster, and Trey Lance was 0-2, and what was Jimmy Garoppolo again?
He was good enough. Kept the starting job.
He couldn't have been, because if Brock Purdy won 7 games, the Niners 12-4 or 12-5, I'm sorry. The math means that Brock Purdy won the Niners most of their games. Jimmy G and Trey Lance lost most of the Niners' L's. Oh, man.
But you know what else is interesting about that? Who did they play? I'm not going to get into the specifics of all that, but what I will say is, I know I stumbled McGee. Even though they did play against a soft schedule, they also didn't play on the road too much. And guess where they got to go? On the road to Philly. And when these two defenses, when they collide, it may not be much movement. So guess what? Brock Purdy might have to keep up pace with Jalen Hurts. And I'm going to tell you what, I like my chances with Jalen Hurts scoring more points than Brock Purdy when it comes to defenses stalemating each other.
At the end of the day, I'm giving credit where credit is due. Like we said earlier in the year, quarterbacks are measured by their wins and losses and how they play in them games. I like Brock Purdy. I like the Niners to take this dub.
I like to think of a little fairy tale that goes with this. I like to think of Brock Purdy as Cinderella. You know what happens to Cinderella? When the clock strikes 12, Cinderella is in the carriage, and the carriage turns into a pumpkin. The horses turn into rats. and Brock Purdy is going to be right back dusting Trey Lance's boots. That's my anticipation with this, because Brock Purdy is a great Cinderella fairy tale feel good story. He just may not have it. In saying that he doesn't have it, let me give him a little bit of credit here. Brock Purdy has poise, like you mentioned. There's no denying that he has some talent. He made it to the league. He's been winning games. You got to do that with something. But I got to give credit elsewhere as well to kind of bring this all home. So stick with me here. I got to give credit to Kyle Shanahan and the GM John Lynch, because they've been able to do something with the talent of this team. They've maximized their Super Bowl window with by getting Christian McCaffrey. That's incredible. They've been able to find ways to schematically run well. They found ways to bolster up this team and to keep it premier and keep it at the cream of the crop. So I got to give them credit for that.
I just want to emphasize this right there. At the end of the day, right, the quarterback has to make the throws and he has to make the decisions. He has to call the right plays, throw the ball to the right guys. Teams win or lose. Most of the hate goes to the guy throwing the rock, right?
Unfairly, yes. Why
can't we just give Brock Purdy the love he deserves? Because last time I checked, like I said, he was 7-0, right? Yeah. And he's performed well in all of their victories. I'm not saying he performed great, but he's performed well in all of their victories, correct? Made the throws, made the appropriate choices, doesn't give up many negative plays, scores a solid amount of points, or at least enough to win. Hence, this last game, we're not going to act like all for nothing. The Cowboys defense was on his neck all game. To summarize it, the eye test is showing that we got a guy doing his job every week.
I like the way you said that.
And a lot of guys, think about it, bro. How many other guys in the league could have just come in 7-0? How many other guys? I get where you're saying talent of the Niners team. I agree. Talent is through the roof. A few weeks back, I gave this Niners team a pat on the back because Kyle Shanahan is going to put his quarterback in a position to ease the game. That's what he does schematically. But at the end of the day, how many other guys would have came in and done what Brock Purdy has done? You can only make an assumption, and I'll say 0.
I'm not going to get into that, but what I will say though is I like a little thing that you said there. I like a little thing that you said there, that the team is strong. They've put together a good team, and I'm not going to harp on this too much, but it's something that just came to mind. This Niners team got healthy at the right time too. I'm just not going to forget about that. They did, and there's something that goes into that. When you mentioned something else I liked, when that was the talent. I talked about it earlier, but Brock Purdy, he's got some talents, and I like that you said that. Some of his talents are overstated and some are understated. You don't really put this together very easily. He has great poise. There's no question. Kyle Shanahan said it himself. He's got the greatest poise he's seen as a rookie quarterback. That's fine. But then you also look at the fact that he doesn't have necessarily the tangible skill set to really thrive. He can do enough. He's good enough. He's doing the job. That's fine. Sometimes when they have that poise, they have that calm demeanor, that may actually work as a better head coach than it would as a starting caliber franchise quarterback. Because that's what this argument is. Franchise quarterback. He's doing it, so there's no question it's working now. But if it doesn't work out in the end, I think that he has an intangible skill set that could go places with him being a head coach or just a good coordinator. That's very possible.
I agree. But at the end of the day, I think poise is a talent that is very well suited for a franchise caliber quarterback. Because I don't want somebody throwing the ball for me that can't hold his own, that can't rally his team, that can't push through making a mistake.
I'm going to put you on the spot real quick. Tom Brady's available and he goes for the Niners. You take Tom Brady or Brock Purdy. You got 5 seconds.
I'm never choosing against Tom Brady. It doesn't matter.
Well, that's been another episode of Don't Take Us Seriously podcast. Thank you so much. This has been talking about Brock Purdy. I'm DJ.
It's your boy O.
We'll catch y'all on the next one.